Well, good morning or good day to you, AP dual credit U.S. history students this day. So we begin to talk a little bit about World War II, and in this segment, I'll talk about some of the World War II battles. You see my hat here. This actually was my grandfather's. He served in the Pacific during World War II, and I've got a lot of his uniform. You'll see a little bit more of it, but also, again, we can do it. Believe in blue. We're going to make it through all this stuff here. Anyway, so go through some of this with you. Start off with Pearl Harbor. So I'm going to share my screen with you, present this, and let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Pearl Harbor. Okay, so the Japanese had been fighting in China over here, Manchuria. They called it Manchukuo. And we're advancing, devastating China. It was awful, awful, awful. And you can see, this is the limit of Japanese empire expansion. They were just going crazy. So now what ultimately happens is that as they expand their sphere of influence, they know that the United States controls the Philippines, and various other islands such as Midway, of course, Pearl Harbor over here in the Hawaiian Islands. And they know that it will come to it, they will come to fighting the United States at some point. And the Yamamoto, who had spent some time in the United States, knew that we got to knock out the United States, knock them out hard, fast, and try to get them out of here. And that's kind of, pretty much how they came up with the idea. Let's destroy the United States fleet at Pearl Harbor. And so, in utter secrecy, the Japanese Navy prepares for the attack on Pearl Harbor. They get their aircraft carriers, float them all the way over here to the Hawaiian Islands, and then go in and bomb Pearl Harbor. Now, I've left a couple of clips there on the notes that you can go and watch when they attack Pearl Harbor. But some things that I'll point out to you. Again, go back and watch the clips. When they hit Pearl Harbor, most average man doesn't know. It's a complete surprise. Did Washington have some kind of idea? Yes, Washington knew that our time with Japan was coming, our peace time with Japan was coming to an end. We knew that, the Japanese, FDR had told Japan to get out of China. We embargoed Japan. We said, we're not going to send you any more oil, no more steel from the good old USA. And Japan, who lost approximately 1 million soldiers in China, are they to just hang up the war because the United States is going to refuse to give them supplies? Because again, Japan, 4 major islands, thousands of smaller islands, not a whole lot of their own resources. And you need a lot of steel and a lot of oil to take over something like China for this war machine. So they've got to find it elsewhere in the Pacific, and thus the Japanese motivation to attack everywhere. Now, we felt like the United States, the attack's going to come in the Philippines. And that only makes the most sense. Japan, Philippines, right here. Boom. Hits the Philippines, starts to attack. Give us time, get our fleet out there, get managed, all this kind of stuff. But again, Yamamoto, knowing the potential of the United States, says we gotta hit these guys hard and knock them out. We gotta knock them out. And so again, the birth of the whole plan. So the Japanese get their carriers, aircraft carriers, flown over here. They attack Pearl Harbor. Several things, again, if you watch the clips, when they used torpedoes to start off the attack against our battleship Roe, as it was called, we were so confident sitting at Pearl Harbor, the United States forces. We felt like, okay, here we go. We're safe here at Pearl, so far away, and it's only Pearl Harbor isn't deep enough for a torpedo attack. I think it was something like Pearl Harbor was about 40 feet deep, and torpedoes went down to a depth of like 50, 60 feet. Well, what do the Japanese do? They put wooden fence. You'll see in the clip I gave you for Pearl Harbor, that they zoom in on the fin, and you're like, okay, I'm watching a torpedo, but look at the wood. They put wood on the fin of the torpedoes to make sure they didn't go to that depth. I think they leveled out at about 38 feet, and they went in, boom. Also, you'll see they put that clip in there of the two guys painting the ship, and that is from, loosely based on a true story. There were two guys on a ship. They saw the torpedo coming at them. One guy tapped the other one and said, "Al, you're about to hear a thud," because they thought it was a drill. Again, had no idea. Surprise attack at Pearl Harbor. And boom, it goes up. Then you have the airfield get attacked. We had seen them on radar, said don't worry about it, said it was B-17s coming in, which there were some B-17s coming in. And I mean, the whole thing, it's just a disaster, so sad. And then one of the parts of the clip you'll see, if you watch the clips, is where the Arizona explodes. And from eyewitness accounts, people say that, I know it's computerized, and I know if you watch the clip, they say it really did this. So a Japanese level flying bomber dropped the bomb. The Japanese had also made better bombs, and that they would penetrate, again, part of the American arrogance. They can't penetrate our steel, American steel. And so what does a bomb do? The Japanese put a delayed fuse on our bombs that will penetrate the steel, boom, goes through, lands in the magazine of the Arizona, and explodes. There were over 2,000 American casualties during Pearl Harbor. 1,000 of them are on the Arizona, and they're still on the Arizona. The Arizona even still drips oil. If you go to Pearl Harbor, you can still see it bleeding, as they say. I mean, just tragic. Anyway, the United States is absolutely shaken by this. It leads FDR to give the very famous speech that put a clip of there in the notes that you can watch. Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date that will live in infamy, so to speak. So anyway, so there's Pearl Harbor. And next we will talk about the Battle of Midway.